So this took a turn. It's not often that the review you're going to give, or you think you're going to give to a film, changes so abruptly while watching it. Again, I don't plan these things out, and I'm giving you gut reactions right as I walk out of the theater 95% of the time. But as you're watching, and especially as I've been doing this for now a while, you start to compile things in your head, you start to think things through, and, I had my review pretty much set. I knew kind of what I wanted to say and where I was going to go with it, and then shit went sideways. Like, really sideways. So let's start off by discussing the review I was going to give. For a good chunk of this movie, the review was going to go along the lines of, this movie's not going to set the world on fire. This movie's not going to really bring anything new to the table. It's all fairly pat in terms of the plot. But you should see it because the acting in it is second to none. And let's get that clear right away. That is the reason to see this movie. That hasn't changed. This is just a masterpiece of acting. And this isn't like big Academy Award acting, these big roles. This is all small, quiet, little acting. The things the details that the British actors do so well. Watching Ian McKellen, Helen Mirren, and Jim Carter, who is not listed on the poster, but is one of the, other main characters in there. Watching these three act in this movie is akin to listening to a perfectly performed piece of classical music. You realize that you are watching masters of their art. And what I loved about the acting of this is that it is all so effortless, or it appears so effortless. The line delivery, the characterizations, the subtle changes in facial features and expression, the moving from one line to another, it's masterful and effortless. These are three actors at the top of their game, the best there is at what they fucking do. It is what for those who are like myself, wrestling aficionados, it is watching Bret and Owen Hart paint a canvas on the canvas. That's how good the acting in this movie is. I don't need to tell you any more about that, because if you know these names, you know how good. Oh, I will say, having Ian McKellen and Jim Carson in the same movie is like having an amazing voice-off. The two of them talking is just like, you know that expression, I could listen to them read the phone book? It is that. If Patrick Stewart had been in this, that's all I would need. You could have made this a book on tape. I could have just sat there with my eyes closed. I'm not going to do that because I'm driving. And, and just going, oh, okay. That's great. I like seeing Jim Carson in things, because I only really know him from Downton Abbey, and I love him on that. He's the only character I really like on that show, really. But I like seeing him in other things, because he is very, very good, and just not. I don't think he gets quite the credit he deserves. But yeah, this movie is there for the acting, and it's one of those things where I'm watching it and you are humbled as a student of the game, as someone who has studied it, has done it, has performed it, has, trod the boards, so to speak. Oh, Dudley fell over, I'm sorry. It's amazing to watch these people, these masters, and just realize how how fucking amateurish you really are. And that is not a knock. I'm not being negative or anything like that. Any actor who watches these people and thinks to themselves, well, I could do better than that, again, unless you're Patrick Stewart, no, you can't. That's the way it is. But it is humbling to kind of watch and just go, man, I don't know how you did that. I don't know how you become that, but you are the coolest cats on the planet, folks. So yeah, it's a movie for the acting. But here's the thing. Here's what I was talking about earlier. My review was going to be just basically go for the acting, but the movie itself isn't going to stick with you much after, you see it. Because it's a movie about a con man, and the con man character is our point of view character. He's the guy we're seeing everything through. It's a movie called The Good Liar. Everything in this movie's DNA is made up to tell you exactly what is going to happen, that the con man is going to get conned. I don't think I need to put up spoiler warning territory, because I don't think that's a spoiler. I think that is how a movie like this traditionally plays out, and the fun is in how they went about it and, all of that. So, aside from the grandiose acting, there really wasn't much for me to recommend here for a long time, because I'm just like, okay, standard. But then the movie drops the ball. Not the ball, but it drops the bomb on you. When everything unravels, when, the inevitable kind of course correction happens, and the final scenes come down, and it not so much comes down as to how they did it, but why it happened. Let's just say this. For the majority of this picture, it plays out a lot like something quiet and lovely you'd see on the BBC. This is not... Now, it has a couple violent scenes in it. There's a couple of quick things in there, but they're gone quickly, and the most of it is two older people doddering around, being adorable old people, obviously with one of them with a secret agenda and all of that. But when this, and you kind of figure, I kind of thought that when the other shoe fell, it would be something fairly simple. Very, not so much in the vein of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, but kind of, in that same kind of ha-ha, wink and a nod, well, the game's afoot, I'll get you next time, I've been bested by a superior con artist kind of thing. And boy howdy, that ain't what happens. Now, I am not going to spoil what actually happens, because it is something you need to kind of, you need to see it. You deserve to kind of see things like that yourself. But I am going to say, when this movie gets dark, it gets dark really fucking fast. Like, to the point that it almost feels like another movie. The last 20 minutes of this feel like they're from a different movie, like some kind of psychological thriller, as opposed to a little con artist film. Like, the reason all this shit is going down is just like, oh, fuck me. That's a bad choice of words for this. Trust me. But it is just very, it just keeps getting worse. And that ending, I'm not a big one for saying that the twist always makes the movie. I think if you can't watch a movie and enjoy it without the twist, then your movie doesn't have much staying power. For instance, my opinion, and people can disagree with me if they want, Planet of the Apes, the original Planet of the Apes, is an excellent movie that you can watch over and over again, and the twist ending doesn't spoil the rewatch. You know, it's still a great ending, it's still a great capper, but everything that came before it is just as well written, just as well acted, you know, and just as rewatchable as it was before. Things like The Sixth Sense, again, my opinion, once you know the twist, aside from kind of going, oh wow, that's, you know, how everything really lines up, I don't feel like it has a lot of rewatch value. You know, the mystery is very much solved, and it's not, again, it's not saying you can't rewatch a mystery and like it. It's just saying that kind of the genie's out of the bottle a bit. And so I don't believe that the twist ending makes the movie good. But I will say in this case, it's definitely stuck in my mind. It really has. Perfect movie? Not by any stretch. The story is good, and again, acting is superb. But there's a bit in the middle where things about Ian McKellen's past and who he really is, because they lead you up to think that that's the real mystery. Who is he really? And they drop little hints here and there, you know, of what he might actually be, who he might actually be. And when it's revealed, it's kind of a, oh, which is actually just supposed to be, you know, the bait for the bait and switch. But anyway, in the middle of the film, they have this kind of big reveal of who he is and, you know, where he came from and all of that. And it's not so much that it's a bit of a letdown. It's more just that it's a little convoluted. You know? It's a little difficult to twist around. Then this movie has the Lord of the Ring problem, where it has two endings after the actual ending of the film has happened, and you're like, the credits should have just rolled there. I don't need anything else. Credits are good. Then they have the second ending, and you're like, okay, good. Credits here. We're good to go. And then they have to have the third ending. You're just like, okay, come on. We don't need this much wrap up. So yeah, I feel like it kind of got away from them there. There's something else about this film. And I now I can't remember. Again, this is the problem of doing these things just kind of off the top of your head. Another problem of doing these off the top of your head is you tend to get off on a tangent and then forget where your point was. When I was going off on that whole rant about Planet of the Apes versus Sixth Sense, when I started it, I knew what I was going to say. I knew the point, and then halfway through describing Planet of the Apes, my mind was like, where was I going with this? You know, it's like, what was my point again? And then I remembered it, and I was able to complete the thought. But, you know, again, part of the problem with doing these things off the cuff. I can't think of much else to put into this movie, really. I can't think of what, without getting into too much spoiler territory. I will say, okay, here's real quick. They do some flashbacks to them when they were younger, the thing that kind of sets up the entire story. And there's a young man playing Ian McKellen's character as a boy. He's about 15 years old, and man, I just got to say this, and this is not a criticism, man, that kid's got a creepy face. And I don't mean like he's ugly, I just mean he does this kind of low and looking over, like, in a way I'm like, okay, please stop, you're 15 and you're freaking me out, dude. You know, it's one of those things like, you know, this kid needs to be in a horror movie because he's got the look. That's a side thing. I don't have much else to really get into about this one because I don't want to get into spoiler territory. And I think to talk about it anymore is to spoil the film. So I say go check this one out, especially if you want something you don't see a lot, a truly well-acted film, and well-acted for the sake of just being well-acted. This isn't a film, I'm harping on the acting a lot, but again, I'm really trying to explain just how good it is. Because around this time of year, what you get is, acting, here's somebody's Oscar reel. Here's Brad Pitt's, space movie to show you what a great actor he is. Here's somebody doing a biopic, where they're impersonating another character or another person because, the Oscars love that. Here's someone playing an alcoholic because the Academy loves that. This is a film where you're just watching the acting, and you're just people acting great because that's what they fucking do. So if you want something that's really good that just has a twist that you just are going to go, ha! Oh, shit. Then, yeah, definitely go check this one out. Please do. Final grade for The Good Liar. I've been, people have been saying I'm too harsh. Well, lately I feel I've been a little too generous in some of these, but I'm just going to be honest. I'm going to go an A- on this one. It was going to be a B+, again, for the longest time. But then, things happen, and I'm like, this actually deserves to get bumped up a bit. I really liked it. Glad I saw it. So, there you go. There's The Good Liar. Later, we are going to switch gears and go from, high-class British acting to girl power action film. And I'll have a special guest joining me for that. So I look forward to it. And as always, drive safe. And I will see you at the movies.